I'll start tomorrow. That's the sweetest lie I've been telling myself for the past 3 years. 37 times exactly. I've marked each broken promise in my little black notebook. 37 lines, each representing a postponed dream, a missed opportunity, and a piece of me slowly dying in desperation. I vividly remember that suffocating feeling every evening when looking at my unfinished goals. A book with only 3 written pages abandoned midway, a business plan now just a dust-covered document in my drawer, an English class I registered for but never attended. Each incomplete project stands as a silent accusation, reminding me of my own weakness. But the scariest part wasn't the number of failures. What truly terrified me was the moment I realized that procrastination had become part of my personality. It had crept into every corner of my life, turning me into a faded copy of myself, someone always living in tomorrow's promises while never daring to face today. There's a harsh truth that few dare to admit. Procrastination isn't about time management. It's fear in disguise. Behind every "not the right time," "later," and "there's still plenty of time," is a soul trembling at the prospect of facing failure, judgment, and ultimately themselves. But today, I'm not writing these lines to complain about my 37 failures. I'm writing about attempt number 38, the last time I said tomorrow, and the first time I truly understood that beating procrastination isn't a battle against time, but a journey to face and conquer yourself. This is the story of how I got back up after 37 falls, a confession from a procrastination expert who found a way out. And more importantly, this might be a roadmap for those lost in the maze of endless tomorrows. The nature of procrastination, a story from a self-proclaimed slacker. It's only 8 p.m., still early, I tell myself while scrolling through TikTok, ignoring the pile of documents due tomorrow sitting untouched on my desk. I've got all night. That was my go-to mantra. And like clockwork, 8 p.m. would become 10 p.m., 10 p.m. would turn into midnight, and eventually another sleepless night racing against deadlines and desperation. I used to pride myself on my ability to work well under pressure. But the harsh truth was that this was just my way of lying to myself, justifying a deeply ingrained habit of dependence and laziness. Each time I completed work at the last minute, I'd reward myself by continuing to be lazy, an endless cycle with no exit. Just 5 more minutes. This phrase had become my morning anthem when the alarm went off. Those 5 minutes would always stretch into 30, resulting in me running to work, drenched in sweat and irritated. The funny thing is, I never learned my lesson. Come evening, instead of going to bed early, I'd treat myself to a few more episodes because tomorrow is another day. There's a bitter truth I have to admit. I became addicted to comfort. Every time I faced a new challenge or difficult task, my first instinct wasn't to find a solution, but to find an escape. Netflix, social media, mobile games, they became my virtual sanctuaries, places to hide from responsibility and reality. Worse still, I became a master of excuses. I need relaxation time to work more effectively. Waiting for inspiration. Others haven't finished yet. Why should I rush? These reasons sound logical, but they're just masks hiding my laziness and lack of responsibility. The price of this dependence wasn't just sleepless nights or rushed mornings. It was missed opportunities, unfinished dreams, and worst of all, falling behind my own potential. I watched younger colleagues surpass me, friends achieving their dreams, while I stood still, clutching my excuses for laziness. Every evening, looking in the mirror, I saw someone slowly losing themselves in tomorrows and laters. I asked myself, when would I stop being someone who lives off others' patience? When would I stop being someone who buries their own dreams? Facing the procrastination demon. I'm not lazy. That was the first thing I told my therapist, and it was also the biggest lie of my life. The truth is, each of us harbors a procrastination demon, a part of ourselves that always tries to pull us away from important tasks, pushing us into an endless abyss of delay. But here's something I learned after 37 failures. Procrastination isn't an incurable disease. It's a chain of bad habits, nourished by false beliefs and invisible fears. And like any habit, it can be changed if we understand the nature of the problem. Problem 1, the time illusion. We often deceive ourselves that we have plenty of time. There's still a whole week. It's only 8 p.m. I'm still young. These thoughts create an illusion of endless time, making us lose the necessary sense of urgency to act. Solution: I created the 24-hour rule. Whenever a task appears, I imagine I only have 24 hours to complete it. This forces me to start immediately rather than waiting for a perfect moment that never comes. Problem 2. Disguised fear. Behind each instance of procrastination lies a fear. Fear of failure, fear of imperfection, fear of judgment. We avoid action not because we're lazy, but because we're afraid to face these fears. Solution: I apply the 5-minute method. Instead of thinking about the entire project, I commit to just 5 minutes. Surprisingly, once we start, we often want to continue. The biggest fear always lies in the moment of beginning. Problem 3, the perfection maze. We often procrastinate waiting for perfect conditions, enough knowledge, enough equipment, enough time. But perfection is a destination that never arrives. Solution: I learned to start ugly, write messy sentences, exercise with imperfect form, work with the simplest tools. The important thing is to start. Perfection comes through the process. Problem 4, lack of tracking. You can't manage what you don't measure. Not tracking our procrastination makes us unaware of the problem's severity. Solution: I created a procrastination journal, recording every instance of procrastination and the emotions that came with it. Seeing the numbers on paper created the necessary shock to drive change. Through analyzing and experimenting with different methods, I realized that overcoming procrastination isn't about becoming perfect. It's about learning to accept our imperfections while continuing to move forward. Each day, instead of trying to become someone who never procrastinates, I learned to become someone who gets back up faster after each delay. When we stop running from ourselves last night, for the first time in a long while, I went to bed at 10 p.m. No Netflix, no TikTok, no just 5 more minutes. It wasn't some grand victory, but for someone who used to wear late nights like a badge of honor, it was a small step worth celebrating. Lessons from a recovering procrastinator. I still remember the numbness of all-nighter deadline sprints, the bitter taste of 3 a.m. coffee, and the self-loathing when watching colleagues leave work on time with their tasks neatly completed. Why can't I be like them? That question haunted me for a long time. But now, after facing my procrastination demon, I've learned this. Nobody is born organized, punctual, and disciplined. They too have stumbled, procrastinated, failed. The difference is they chose to get back up once, and then again. The changes already sees. My first victory wasn't some grand achievement. It was the first morning I woke up on time without feeling like I was torturing myself. It was the first time I submitted a report 2 days before the deadline without feeling like I just performed a miracle. The smallest changes turned out to be the most meaningful. I started feeling relief from completing work early instead of pride in working well under pressure. I stopped seeing procrastination as an endearing personality trait. And most importantly, I learned to forgive myself for imperfect days. Confession of someone learning to grow up. I still procrastinate. Yes, I admit that. But now, instead of letting it define me, I learned to face it as part of the growth process. Like exercise, no one goes from couch potato to Olympic athlete overnight. Every morning when I wake up, I still struggle with my procrastinating self. But the difference is now I know I'm not alone in this battle. There are thousands of others out there trying every day to become a little better. A promise for tomorrow. This isn't the end of the story. In fact, it's just the beginning. Tomorrow we'll explore an even more interesting aspect of this journey. How do we build a procrastination-proof system that's not just effective but sustainable? How do we maintain motivation when the temptations of procrastination lurk around every corner? And most importantly, how do we turn good habits into a natural part of our lives? Because ultimately, beating procrastination isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming a better version of yourself, day by day, hour by hour, and sometimes just minute by minute. See you in tomorrow's story, where we'll explore the fascinating secrets of maintaining long-term motivation and discipline.